Mother of the Matrix, as she is affectionately known, wrote her epic, The Third Eye, while she was studying cinema at the University of Southern California. Her work was copyrighted since 1981, which is the foundation and contains the core elements of the blockbuster films The Terminator and The Matrix. Stewart's brilliance lies in her ability to create characters, stories, and cinematic magic. And in The Third Eye, she has transformed comprehensive metaphysical and spiritual concepts in the most revered science fiction films of the 20th century. The Terminator and The Matrix films are among the most artistically phenomenal and financially profitable film franchises in Hollywood's history. These works have currently grossed over $25 billion, 4 Oscars, and continue to generate revenue internationally. She is currently continuing her epic work in the upcoming Matrix 4 movie, which is destined to supersede the extraordinary success of The Matrix and The Terminator and establish her as one of the most profound master writers in the 21st century. I want to welcome for the first time to Flow of Wisdom Radio, Miss Sophia Stewart. Good to have you.
Oh, yes, thanks. Thank you guys for inviting me to your show today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the time as well. First, let's talk about these legal battles that you've been going through. Your book that you wrote, well, actually, it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, was it a treatment for the movie The Third Eye, where the movies The Terminator and The Matrix pretty much had a lot of core elements in those films from your story?
Well, actually, I'm the writer of The Matrix and Terminator, and the only writer of The Matrix and Terminator. What happened was they used my script treatment called The Third Eye in a manuscript, and characters, special effects, graphics, the makings of The Third Eye, which also became the makings of The Matrix. So they used my entire work. So I am definitely the author of The Matrix and Terminator. In fact, the first Matrix was created from a storyboard, like a comic book. 500 to 600 drawings was made from my work, and all the characters and the majority of the special effects and graphics come from me. The only one that didn't come from me was the bullet time, but the rest came from me, and all the special effects that was in The Terminator came from me, and not Stan Winston. So yeah, go ahead.
You sent me the form, the copyright form, which was 1981, and The Terminator came out, I believe, in the late 80s, mid to late 80s. What did you, when those movies came out, did you see it, or did someone tell you about it? How did that whole situation transpire?
Well, The Terminator came out actually October 1984. And I didn't know anything about The Terminator at all. What happened was I discovered the theft of The Matrix March the 31st, 1999, during the national release. And when I went to the FBI and they started investigating, they're the ones that told me in 2000, 2001 that not only had I written The Matrix, but I also wrote The Terminator also. At the time during The Terminator, I was married and pregnant with a baby, so I wasn't even going to the movies at that time. So that's why I didn't know anything about The Terminator. But I was going to the movies in 1999. And so The Terminator is actually the prequels of The Matrix, and Sarah Connor is actually Neo's mother. The Terminator goes right into The Matrix, and The Matrix is the future of the science fiction epic. In other words, John Connor's JC, Jesus Christ, is equal to Neo, one and the same. Because what I wrote was the evolutions of consciousness, the second coming of Christ, not the first coming of Christ, which is in the Bible, and man versus machine. In other words, Christ is going to come back, born of a woman, and grow up to take out the technology of the machines in the future. And that's what the whole epic story is about. It's the path of Neo, or the journey of the one, or, vice versa. because matrix is Latin for womb. And the Bible in Exodus 34th chapter, 19th verse, God says, he who opens the matrix of mind, meaning that all the children born coming from the womb receives the soul, and they are his children. But then man started creating his own children, mankind, or a kind of man, but not born with souls. They were soulless machines. They were petri dish, cloning, test tube babies, artificial insemination. Because God is saying that the only way you can receive the soul is coming through the womb, the natural process of having a baby, not creating babies in test tubes, not creating babies in petri dishes, and not creating them in a lab and then putting them, inserting them in the womb of a woman. Or cloning, which is just dividing and separating the atom, atom, not the Adama. When you split the atom to the right, you create clones, life, bodies, physical bodies, but born without souls, which will become machines because they have no compassion, no empathy, no love. Whenever you split the atom, which is the atom, the atom, to the left, you create the atomic bomb. You create death, or the nuclear bomb, neutrons, protons, electrons. And a lot of people don't realize that everything is polarity, polar, that there is no duality, that the philosopher Descartes confused the masses with algebra and deception because duality is claiming there are two things going on, that there is a devil versus God, or a devil as powerful as God that's warring with God, which is a lie because God created everything, and if God created everything and he created the devil, then the devil is subjected to him. He's not greater, or he's not an equal. So therefore, there can only be one, and that is God, and everything goes back to the one. There are only 9 numbers in the universe, and everything goes back to the one. The one is the alpha, 9 is the omega. There's no such thing as 10, because 1 plus 0, 0 is the infinity. So 1 plus 0 is equal to 1, so everything goes back to the 1. There's no such thing as 11. 1 plus 1 is 2. 12, 1 plus 2 is 3. So all of these numbers go back to the basis 1 through 9, and it begins again on 1, meaning that if you start out in one spot, you'll end back up in that same place, a complete cycle or circle, 360 degrees, which is 360 is just a 9. Meaning that after 9, it goes back to the 1, and the 0 is infinity. That's God's number. If you look at the number 8, you'll see the 2 little zeros that goes on and on and on. If you lay those 8 vertically or horizontal, there's nothing but zeros. That means God is infinity. He goes on and on forever. There's no beginning to him, no end. He just continues forever.
We're talking to Sophia Stewart, mother of the Matrix. This is Flow of Wisdom Radio. I'm your host, Sean Anthony. And, of course, if you like to call in and ask questions to Sophia, the number is toll-free, 877-300-7645. That's 877-300-7645. Or follow me on Twitter and shoot me a tweet, a question, on Twitter at Sean_Anthony. Sophia, you wrote this book back in 1980, or this treatment. What inspired you to write such a complex story back then that it was so futuristic?
First of all, I'd like people to know that they should go to my website and look at my website, TERMINATOR.com. There's Matrix 4 book and the Third Eye book. They can read this, for themselves. And then I'd like to say, not only did I write a script treatment, again, I wrote a script treatment plus a manuscript, a 47-page manuscript in a script treatment with characters, graphics, and special effects and so forth. And I was inspired by God. That was my inspiration. And how was I inspired? How did I get this inspiration? Well, I saw Star Wars in the late 70s, and I recognized George Lucas's concept that he was talking about Darth Vader was the devil. He's talking about how the devil fell from the light side to the dark. And I was quite amazed by that. I wasn't inspired by Star Wars. I was quite amazed that someone had put the point of view of Satan on the screen, and they had done it up in science fiction form. then I got to thinking that what about Christ? Because in Revelations they said he was going to come back, and I got to thinking about that. Why don't I do a Christ story, the one? You know, because Matrix is mentioned 5 times in the King James Bible. It means Latin for womb. So what if Christ came back, born of a woman? That's what I was thinking about. And what would he be doing in the future?
Well, let's stay right there. Sophia Stewart is our guest, the mother of the Matrix. We're going to talk more about the future and Matrix 4, plus your comments. 877-300-7645 is the number to call in. I'm Sean Anthony. You're listening to Flow of Wisdom Radio.
And stop letting corporate news tell lies to your children. Flow like the blood.